So, I mean, you mentioned that it doesn't impact you so much. I mean, you're taking it on your chin, but I'm sure it does as well a little bit because you're making your programming changes. That sample might be there for a few months, and then it might change again. The panel. So you're changing it for a small time, and then changing it kind of back. So it must be an issue, right? Having that kind of sampling changing, it does affect the business. I mean, it can be quite detrimental to business. It's a Bob thing, isn't it? That, and you've had that chat with Bob.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody likes the fact that, I mean, monotony is boring, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we are in a dynamic business. There's no question about it. But see, there are also some internal changes that have happened, right? We are in a state of transition ourselves.
Yeah.
Some of our most loved shows have come to an end.
Of course, yeah.
And it takes a while to build up that sort of loyalty again. I mean, you can name the top performing shows that we have, and that's down to the fact that Star Plus itself needed to remain relevant as a brand. So we've made that change in our brand. We're aware of the fact that it's going to be a while before we get back to that level of loyalty again.
Gaurav, so I was going to ask you also. I mean, you mentioned programming changes there. How much influence does the Star India team have in your programs in the UK? Only because it's probably the worst time for any programming changes to happen, as you know, because of the market changes. The other channels trying to come on board and trying to get a bit of viewers to sample their programming. So you've obviously got a load of new shows. So Mariam Khan, Krishna Chali London, all these new shows that have come on board. People are still sampling,
Right.
but it's probably the worst time to sample because there's so many other channels they can sample with. Whereas the other channels were still high enough in terms. I mean, Namkaran was a really popular show.
Sure.
So how much influence have the team in India have?
So huge. I mean, but the fact is that there's never a bad time for change, according to me. I mean, had we been on an absolute top, and you would have asked the question that, okay, why do you need to make that change?
Yeah.
But the fact is that those changes are not for the sake of changes alone. They reflect the shift in the brand. I mean, you would have seen that's been met with a new campaign with Alia Bhatt as the ambassador. And the fact that Star Bharat has become a pillar in itself in India, right? So there's very distinct sort of. There's also a realization that long-running shows, while they drive loyalty, at some point of time will need to have a meaningful end. All good things in life come to an end. But India does have a role to play. But today, 6.5 hours of our programming on Star Plus is unique to Star UK. So all the afternoon strand, which is the Star Dopair strand, the food strand, which is Zyka, and of course Winter Sun, which has got off to a really popular start, is all unique to the UK feed. So yes, India does have a role to play, but we do plug in consumer preferences for the UK into our program.
Going back to Star Plus, you've got the Turkish show Winter Sun, which has just launched, and like you said, it's done well, and I'm sure it will continue to do well. Is there a reason? I mean, I'm sure there's a great reason behind it, and obviously a lot of people are thinking that it's because of the Pakistani audience, and you're bringing them back, and also the non-Indian audience that may have kind of like lost in the way. Is that the reason for that launch?
Right. I think you're very well aware that here we are not one homogeneous mass of viewers. There's obviously different ethnicities, backgrounds, and not just the fact that they're Indians, Pakistanis, or Bangladeshis. Where you were born, what social strata you're at. So there are various factors, right? So I think one of the reasons that Winter Sun we experimented with it was the fact that we wanted to expand traditional viewer base. So you would have noticed it's early days yet, but the first 4 days will tell you that a portion of the AB audience, which is the socio-economic demographic we use, is significantly higher. The younger audiences is higher. So it's not just a matter of getting more Pakistani viewership. Incidentally, even on an absolute basis, we attract more Pakistani viewers than the Pakistani broadcasters. So. But we are just catering to newer audiences across demographics.
Okay, so will you be increasing the content for Pakistani audiences as well? I mean, because we say Pakistani audiences, but Pakistani content for Indian audiences as well, because obviously Indian audiences do like watching Pakistani content as well. So will you be increasing that? Because there's been a rumor in the industry about that.
Right. So no, Raj, I think. I don't see consumers as Indians, Pakistanis, or Bangladeshis. Consumers are I mean, our aim is to remain relevant to them, whoever they are, and the fact is that ratings are not a perfect science, but they still give you a measure of success. So yeah, we will continue to invest in high quality content, irrespective of source, whether it's Indian, Pakistani, Turkish, or anything.
But it was never the case about a year or 2 years. Say about 18 months ago. It's never the case where Star Plus UK would have ever run shows like Winter Sun or Mera Naam Yusuf Hai, Pakistani kind of content. So why now?
You've called us a trendsetter, so maybe there has to be a first at some point of time.
But it's a trend that also, I mean, I do think Star Plus is a trend setter, but I think some of these ideas, credit to the other broadcasts as well, that they've implemented a Turkish show. They might have interviewed, also aired a Pakistani show. So maybe not on this front, but yes, Star Plus is a trend setter on other aspects. But this time, what would you say the need is there for a Pakistani show or a Turkish show dubbed in Hindi?
No, like I said, it's to attract newer audiences. We've realized that there's a certain socio-economic demographic that we probably have an opportunity with, certain age group, younger audiences, more people with an appetite for international content. It's an experiment. At least we won't die wondering. So
Gaurav, as part of the Rishta Wahi Baat Nahi campaign, the new campaign for Star Plus, there was a launch of a new show called Sabse Smart Corn, which hasn't launched in the UK. There's some viewers that are disappointed because Ravi Dubey is a big name, the host of the show. So why would you not get permissions to air that show here in the UK for copyright, as in for rights reason?
I think it goes more than just the rights issue. I don't know if you've been following how the treatment of the show has been in India. There's a lot of on-ground activation. There's a lot of consumer engagement in malls, in shopping malls, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of brand integration that has gone into it. There are some things that you cannot do in the UK. You will not be able to do justice if you didn't go down that path. We actually chose to do Winter Sun instead of that. So, I mean, ultimately your prime time is finite. You have to make a call between the two. So no, it wasn't just a rights issue. It was a creative.
Okay, and then you mentioned Star Zyka earlier on, cookery slot, which has got off to a good start. The idea is going to be, I'm going to say to you that obviously other broadcasters have also added cookery content onto their channels. You've got a slot on there. So has it worked the way you want it to work, expectations wise?
Okay, so I think, first of all, it's early days. We had a month of Ramadan, which invariably, because of viewer habits, the fact that this is that time of the year, it's early days to say categorically whether it has worked or not, but yes, it's really, really promising as far as we're concerned. If you looked at the peak viewing for Star Zyka over the last 50 days since the time it's launched to say anything in the similar genre, you'll notice that our peak hours is significantly higher. We have some surprises up our sleeves even for that slot. It's not going to be one consistent sort of programming. There is more planned, some programming changes within Zyka. We'll keep it really fresh. We're pretty pleased with how it's performed. But even if you look at Dopair, which is the idea was to actually target a set of audience. If you look at the time from about 11:30 to 4 in the evening, you're effectively talking about either stay-at-home moms, homemakers, or women who wanted some me time or some aspirational time. So the Star Dopair band has a very strong nostalgic element, and that's because we've discovered that UK audiences relate to characters from the past. So Star Dopair has had like a 40% jump in viewing since the time it's been launched versus the same time slot when it wasn't around. And similarly for Zyka, so it's not just that 1.5 hours. It's actually 11:30 to 4 in the evening, where we are targeting.
It's more or less original content, right? Because if people missed it first time around, it's original for them. And the cookery is obviously new anyway, because you're not seeing these shows in the UK. Let's switch to my next question about the programming for the weekends. Weekends is when you're struggling the most, and even when I'm seeing the ratings at the weekend, it does make me cringe because Star Plus has got its power, but it has kind of lost its way over the weekends. What would you say is the big factor? with the letdown on Saturday and Sundays?
So Raj, I think the first point here is that it's not a sprint. We are in a marathon, right? We don't look at ratings for the last few weeks, but if you look at the last 6-8 months, and I can count whether it's India's Next Superstar or Great Indian Laughter Challenge, because we've had such lofty standards ourselves, you'd say that they've been like moderately successful. But the fact of the matter is, you compared to all the marquee brands, competitor brands which have been there in the weekend, these shows have significantly outperformed. Like India's Next Superstar actually averaged 50,000 in an 8 to 9 band on the weekend. So I don't think we are overly concerned about the fact that there's been a recent slump. There are two reasons for that. One is we as a brand do take our time to look at, and you'll see the change in Dil Hindustani when it comes out in July. We've made wholesale changes. We've taken on board consumer feedback from last year. There's a change in panel of judges, the format, all of that has changed, and that doesn't really happen overnight. That's one. The other thing is, weekends are never a time for appointment-led viewing. You can turn on the tap and you can turn it off and you can get back on. If you look around, everybody does play a lot of movies on weekends, and there's a reason for that. So no, I'm not concerned that it's going to lead to a point where people will stop sampling us.
You've obviously you're airing programs now from a third-party channel. Obviously, we know that the programs for the cookery slot are not your programs, but you're airing from a different. So would you not get content to fill those other slots up, like some of the kind of dead slots over the weekend where you're kind of struggling from third-party channels, or even your own library of channels in India?
You mean the weekend?
The weekend, you know, especially the weekend at the moment where you've got reruns or repeats going on. Would you not consider getting programs for other channels, or maybe even another channel? You know, like you are currently with food.
There are a couple of things. One is it's a omnibus format. Actually works well over weekends. It's catch-up time. Literally, people actually tend to sit down and watch. Weekends, you've got your household chores, you have family, you have things that you do, especially this time of the year. So I don't think that appointment viewing is a great idea to put original shows in there during those hours. But even otherwise, see, if you look at, say, Star Bharat and Star Plus, they completely stand for different things. I mean, Bhula De Dar and the relationship focus that Star Plus has. So the shows reflect that. So it's almost like creating a potpourri of everything, and which tastes of nothing. If you were to really put content from Bharat onto Plus. Second is the fact that the packaging changes are huge. So it's both it's a brand and a technical call.